From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.
That's right. Taylor Heating and Plumbing. Taylor 500 Help. They are 24 hours, which is very important. If your furnace goes out at 8 o'clock at night, who are you going to call? Taylor 500 Help, of course. Taylor is open, servicing their clients, whatever you need: air conditioning, heating, plumbing, home energy. You have furnace issues, of course, water heater problems. You don't want to take a cold shower when we have, below zero temperatures. You don't want to do that. So call Taylor at 500 Help. Open 24 hours. They will help you. They also have comprehensive maintenance plans for any of your energy needs. And they've been doing this for a long time. So call Taylor 500 Help and they will set you up with a brand new water heater from Bradford White Water Heaters. They will also service your furnace. Make sure they're your go-to whenever it comes to a heating or plumbing issue. That's Taylor Heating and Plumbing, Taylor 500 Help. Precision Lawn and Garden, 195 North Avenue in Webster, providing Rochester and surrounding areas professional sales, service, and parts since 1969. Boy, did you need a snowblower yesterday, right? Or overnight or this morning to dig yourself out if you didn't have one. And from what I can see, people have been waiting a long time for their plow services to show up. So maybe you just do yourself a favor, go up and see Justin and Kimberly at Precision Lawn and Garden and get you one of those big daddy of all snowblowers. They have small ones. They have medium-sized ones. They've got on sale models. Precision Lawn and Garden carries a complete line of Snowway and West End plows that for snow removal, all their equipment, all their accessories. Check them out. Precision Lawn and Garden, 195 North Avenue in Webster. And from what I can see on social media, a lot of people's plow service didn't show up. But you know what? Express Sealers, they do more than seal driveways. You need a snow removal service? Brian at Express Sealers, 645-2010. You call him, you say, hey, listen, I heard you on Kimberly's Revolution. He'll come out and make sure that you're taken care of. Express Sealers on the east side. They do Irondequoit, Ontario, Williamson, Penfield, Pittsford. You know I'm talking about east side. Express Sealers, 645-2010. Please support our advertisers. They support us here at the We the People Podcast Network.com and Kimberly's Revolution.
Live from snowy Irondequoit, New York. She survived the storm.
I did.
She's still here to talk about stuff. It's Kimberly Ray.
I am here to talk about stuff. Hey, I am Kimberly. It is Kimberly's Revolution. It is Tuesday. And we survived the mega storm. The streets are clear. I got to Irondequoit with no problem. So we are here. Check out our website, WeThePeoplePodcastNetwork.com. We are glad to have you along for today's ride. Just Tom is not here with me. Just Tom is out on an inner tube somewhere in the Mediterranean on a cruise ship. Because where do you want to be in the middle of a COVID surge? On a cruise ship, no less. So sitting in with me today, which I always love, is a very good friend of mine going back to kindergarten and elementary school at Buckner Elementary in Buckner, Missouri, is my good friend, author, screenwriter, and man of many talents and much, much knowledge, is Brian Peterson. And he joins us all the way from Lee Summit, Missouri. And there he is. There's Brian. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. I'm happy to be here. I was until I found out where Tom is. Now I'm starting to think I got the short straw here.
No, you're here with me. This is the fun. This is the fun gig. Who wants to be stuck on a cruise ship where it's 85 degrees? No. No one. So Brian Peterson, of course, is a guy that I've known for a very long time, went to church with, did all kinds of activity, basically grew up together. And he has written several books, with the latest, Paper Doll, of course, which is all about World War II, his family, his uncles, his grandfather. They were brothers, the Great Depression. This is an excellent read. It's available, I do believe, on Amazon, if I'm correct. Yes.
Barnes and Noble only for that one. Although
Barnes and
I'm going to
Noble?
make that change pretty soon. It needs to be on elsewhere.
Okay, very good.
Thanks for the book plug, but I got to say I was never Miss Buckner like you, so
Yeah.
I didn't measure up.
They didn't give you a crown for writing this book?
No.
What the hell? No crown for writing a book. Well, that's okay. And of course, if you want to reach out to Brian, you can do so at I do written by BWP at Gmail. You're also
Yes,
on Twitter as well at written by BWP Brian William Peterson, correct?
correct.
All
And my
right, very good.
website written by bwp.com.
All right, very good. And working on any books right now?
I'm working on a sci-fi. I'm probably 75% of the way through. It's going to be a trilogy. It'll be my first series at all. And I hope to have it out later this year.
I see your shirt that you have on.
I'm with
That's
you.
what we're doing.
I'm
That's
ready.
Yes.
Revenge against the Bills.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so that's what we have. This weekend, it is the epic playoff game. There we go. Kansas City and the Buffalo Bills in Kansas City. It is going to be a great, great football game.
And all three teams remaining in the AFC beat us earlier this year. So we got a little bit of a tough road to hoe.
That's that's okay. I'm feeling good about the Chiefs. It's hard to go into the house of Arrowhead and come away with a win.
Oh,
So
loudest stadium. I was there the day they set the record, the night they set the record against the Patriots.
were you?
Oh,
Okay. So we're cutting out a little bit. Do you know if that's hopefully that's an issue that's going to clear up very quickly. Do we have you? No, he's frozen up. I don't know. Can we possibly reconnect?
I'm back again.
Oh, you're back again. Okay.
Last thing I said, it was 142.2 decibels. I was there that night and it hurt my ears.
I know, right? Very, very loud. So yeah, we have a lot of things we're going to get to today. The name of the show is It's Not That Complicated. I think people make things very complicated. Human beings, it's their nature. I mean, you don't really find things that are that complicated in the animal kingdom, right? It's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty black and white in the animal kingdom. And I will give you two examples of that before we really get into the hard stuff. So I saw on, I think it was in Florida, and one of the news stories this morning that I came across, Brian, was this story out of Florida where this woman is in her housing tract and she's walking her dog in her yard and she's confronted by a mama bear that has 3 cubs. And her comment was, the bear was trespassing on my property. Now, the first thing I thought was, lady, that bear doesn't care about your property or trespassing, right? I mean, it's really not that complicated. But what they ended up doing, because we have invaded, an animal's domain, they ended up putting the mama bear down, and the 3 baby cubs, I guess, were old enough to fend for themselves, according to the Florida Fish, Game and Wildlife.
Yeah, anytime you have these people living where animals, have dominated, it's always a struggle. You don't want to see people get eaten. That would be a bad thing. But then
Right.
again, you hate when they put the animal down too. I mean,
Yeah.
I
It
lived,
depends
when
on
I
what
lived,
person.
yeah, well, that's a good point. Well, when I lived in Southern California for a bunch of years, people were afraid of coyotes. Coyotes aren't going to bother you. You just, yell, make some noise.
Do that. Clap your hands, and then we are having internet issues, I think, to a little bit, because I don't know, maybe if we could reconnect, or is it an issue on our end? I'm not real sure, but I thought that was something interesting. Is it's not really that complicated, and then of course I think what we're doing now is reconnecting. Austin, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I live out in the country, and you just never know. I need Elon Musk's satellites here pretty soon or something.
There you go. And also the other thing that's not that complicated is, and maybe someone can tell me what this bird is. I'm not real sure. So yesterday during the big snowstorm, we probably got about 17 inches of snow, 17, 18 inches of snow where I live in North Greece. And during the middle of the snowstorm, it's not that great of a video, but you can kind of, I put it on my Facebook page, but this is really cut and dry. It is nature. It's not that complicated. It's a bird doing what a big bird of prey does. And let's roll that video. So this was yesterday morning. You see that? I think it is a Northern Harrier.
I think you're
which
probably
is-
right.
Right. Yeah. Did you look it up? You
Yeah, I did. And plus I was able to zoom in on my phone. Because
Yeah.
when I first saw the video, I couldn't see its beak, and I thought it had a flat face like an owl.
It does kind of
And
look
by the
like an
way,
owl.
go Predator. All right. I'm glad it got him a squirrel.
Got a squirrel. The squirrel, sadly to say, did not survive. If you saw that video there, you did see the squirrel that's in the pool cover right there. But they say the Northern Harrier is the only harrier species in North America, and it is partial to this region of northwestern New York. And its face does look like an owl. So you really weren't that far off.
And it's also partial to squirrels, apparently.
Like squirrels,
Get
exactly.
rid of those bushy-tailed rats.
It's not that complicated. Mama bear in Florida is going to take care of her 3 cubs, and she doesn't care
Right.
about any kind of trespassing issues. I thought that comment just killed me. And then you know what? The harrier hawk doesn't care about the squirrel. It's going to eat the squirrel to survive, and that's kind of what it does. Humans are the ones that complicate everything. And for an example, do you watch Jeopardy?
I like the show. I don't usually take the time to.
I consider myself very smart, Brian. I mean, you were always very smart in school. If I can get Final Jeopardy 3 nights out of the 5, I think I'm at like genius level.
That's good. That is good.
Right? But I don't know if you know where I'm going with this. Amy Schneider has won 34 consecutive games on Jeopardy, and she is and I quote unquote, the first woman to win over $1 million. But if you were like me, the first night I saw Amy Schneider, I said, that's no woman. I mean, she is a trans. She has gone from being a male to a female. Clear up until about late 2016, 2017, Amy Schneider was a man. And so I think that it's really a disservice to, be touting this whole thing of the first woman to win over $1 million, because it's unfair and it's a lie. It's a lie.
And she may have been, medicated and mutilated, but there are still thousands of different genetic differences.
Right.
And a lot of those genetic differences are minor, but they're still different. And
And
her brain's still wired differently. She thinks differently, acts differently. Just walk into a department store and you'll know right away, man or woman.
Right. I mean, you can. And my mother, who, by the way, just turned 88, didn't. And she says, "What are you saying? It's not a woman." I said, "Mom, it's a man wearing pearls and a pink sweater. That is not that." And that generation, they don't really pick up on those things. Kind of like
Right.
you do.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about your mom, but probably that was not the first thing that occurred to my mother as she's watching Jeopardy. She just thinks, well, if they're calling her a woman, she must be a woman. But I just hate when they say the first woman to win over $1 million on Jeopardy, when it's really not true. I mean, I would love it for it to be a woman, but she wasn't a woman until the last 2 years when, she made her transition into a woman. She was a man for about 45 years of her life. Right.
Well, and it wouldn't make a difference either way if it was a man or a woman, except that they just have to make a political point about it.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, you have to, to say things like that. Like, for example, the trans swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania. That's
different. Now we're in a whole other category.
Right? And we know men and women's brains are wired differently. We know there are female geniuses and male geniuses. But what we also know is that males are generally 99% of the time bigger, faster, stronger than a female, whether it comes to swimming, racing, weightlifting. Their bodies have the ability. They're stronger. right?
I'm not a very big guy, but that swimmer had broader shoulders than me. I can tell you that right now.
And stands
And
almost a head taller than most of the female swimmers on his
the
team.
yeah, the physical advantages are amazing, and that's why it's causing such a mess with not just the NCAA, but in high schools, where these girls don't have a chance. These girls have been working hard. These girls have been putting in their time, just like the boys do.
Right.
And then they've got to go up against someone, and it's an unfair competitive advantage. And when we want to play semantics and say, oh, well, she's a girl too. Well, yeah, only in a couple ways, not in a whole bunch of other ways, including what counts in sports is that
Right.
strength, that stamina.
You pointed out earlier to me on the phone earlier when we were discussing today's show, there was a John. And by the way, no one wants to bring up these things. No one wants to bring up the fact that
Right.
Amy Schneider on Jeopardy isn't really the first woman to win over $1 million, because you will just get killed on social media. They will want to erase you from the earth. And it's the same with this swimmer who transitioned from a male. And by the way, as a male, also swimming very well in competition, but then transitioned into a woman and beat the other fastest girl on the team by 38 seconds. And I don't know if you're familiar, but time wise,
That's amazing.
38 seconds is a long time, right?
Yeah.
38 seconds is a long time in radio or podcasting or in athletic events. 38 seconds is like an eternity if you don't really realize.
Especially in sports, and especially in time sports.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you see a lot of races won by, tenths of a second, hundredths of a second.
Right. Yeah. Time
Yeah,
is everything.
38 seconds.
38 seconds.
Wow.
38 seconds. And I bring this up because Michael Phelps, the winningest Olympian in history, has spoken out on his thoughts. And I was waiting for this moment for someone to ask Michael Phelps what he thought about this University of Penn swimmer and the thoughts on transitioning and now just setting all kinds of records as a woman, when we know for a fact he just transitioned in the last year and a half, which means that he spent 19 years of his life building up his body, and his shoulders and his arms are longer, and his legs and hands are, he's built like a swimmer, kind of like Michael Phelps, who is, one of these guys that you look at and we're like, man, who made this guy?
And in most cases I've read about, he's still going to have a higher testosterone level as well, not to mention the muscle mass, which is a really big deal here.
I do have the portion of the interview with Michael Phelps and with the woman who's interviewing him, Christina Amanpour, who used to be a great, on location all across the world in all kinds of conflicts. I mean, she was the go-to girl, Christina Amanpour, and she sits down with Michael Phelps. And finally, at the end of the interview, it's a 16-minute and 53-second interview. The last question she asked him is about the transitioning swimmer. And I thought, of all of the interviewers, I mean, she is hardcore, hard hitting. Why did she wait till the end? I'm not sure about that, but let's listen to the interview where Michael Phelps addresses this.
There is, as you know, a certain amount of controversy around the University of Pennsylvania college swimmer by the name of Leah Thomas. And there are some people who are questioning her, I'm not sure what the right word is, her right to swim on a woman's team. She's transgender. What do you make of that? And she's obviously doing exceptionally well. She also has been taking testosterone suppressants, but nonetheless does much better, according to the records, than her female contestants. What do you make of this particular situation?
I mean, look, like I'll say, I can talk from a standpoint of doping. I don't think I've competed in a clean field in my entire career. So, I think this leads back to the organizing committees again, because it has to be a level playing field. I think that's something that we all need, because like that's what sports are. And for me, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I believe that we all should feel comfortable with who we are in our own skin. But I think sports should all be played at an even playing field. I don't know what that looks like in the future, but it's hard. It's a really, honestly, I don't know
It's
what to say.
complicated.
No,
It's very complicated.
It's really not.
And this is my sport. This has been my sport my whole entire career. And I honestly, the one thing I would love is everybody to be able to compete on an even playing field. That's all I can say.
Michael Phelps, thank you so much.
there you
indeed
go.
for
So
joining us.
that's the crux of it. And my
It's
thought
complicated.
is it?
Well, my first reaction when I heard that interview was, oh, come on, about it's complicated. Then I started thinking, okay, let's put it in perspective. He's an athlete. I don't look to him for wisdom. I don't look to him for political insight. I can live with it's complicated. That's okay with me.
Sure.
At least I'll give him credit. At least he said there should be a level playing field. And that the only way to get a level playing field is not to put a person who was born a man in competing against women.
Yes.
That's the only way. You can't change the DNA. You can medicate. You can cut them up, but you can't change the DNA. And so I'll give him credit for saying that. And by the way, just so you know, Christiane Amanpour, yeah, you're right. She was a good reporter a long time ago.
Yeah.
But when CNN took that left wing turn, so did she. She's she's a lot different than you remember her.
Yeah, she used to be the thing. I mean, she would do some hard hitting stories
80s.
in some of the most dangerous places in the world.
Yes.
And I don't know what happened.
And so this swimmer's name is Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was Marty McFly's mother, and I guess Leah Thompson.
Back to the Future. I think
I-
Leah Thompson. Yeah, exactly.
Close.
But you had made a comment to me about a Johns Hopkins study that no one ever really talked about.
Yeah, I
pertains to
didn't
this
read the
story.
study. I read. I try to read studies when I have the opportunity, but I read a summary of it, and this was about 4 or 5 years ago. And what it talked about, and this is Johns Hopkins. I mean, this is a big deal place.
Right.
And what they pointed out
Smart
was
people
that
there. Really smart people.
yes, really, and they're scientific minded. That this what they call gender dystopia is really a mental disorder. And we should be treating it as such.
Mhm.
But instead, we're medicating and mutilating, and we're basically helping people who have mental problems to follow that path and maintaining their mental problems. Can you imagine if somebody goes into a psychiatrist and he's psychopathic and he has dreams of murdering people? Okay, well, here, let me help you. Here's a really cool kind of knife. No, we don't do that. But we do this with people who have so-called gender dystopia. And so we're not treating the problem. Well, what the media did was they said to themselves collectively, we can't really go after Johns Hopkins. They've got too good of a reputation. So we'll just ignore the scientific survey.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. They just refused to report on it. And that's how it went away.
Yeah. So if you don't talk about it, then it never hits mainstream media. And
Right.
I think really that has been the MO of the mainstream media for a long time. If we just ignore it, like the Hunter Biden situation, if we don't talk about it or give it credence, it'll just go away.
And then I've noticed on a lot of different issues politically that you can then find somebody will say, oh, that never happened. Remember the Hunter Biden stuff? Oh, that wasn't true. I was, we'll get to Biden later, but I was researching a speech, read a Jimmy Carter speech earlier. And then I found a story saying that how it was a positive speech. This particular speech was incredibly negative. And so there's always going to be something on the internet that says the opposite of what you see in front of you. And that's what they've done on this subject of gender dystopia.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. And I always said, and when I heard that Michael Phelps interview, I'm like, but it's not that complicated. And that really is,
Right.
that's all I could think of today. Is it's really not that complicated. Like, I guess that basically, have you been following that tennis player, Novak Djokovic? I think he's
a little bit, not so much over the weekend, but yeah.
Right.
Australia's
I mean, they've been back and
gone
forth.
bonkers.
Is he going to play tennis in Australia? Is he not going to play tennis in Australia? He's unvaccinated. He refuses to get the vaccination. So here is a guy whose career is on the verge of being derailed because he's unvaccinated. But I always thought we held, something, very, very important, like our bodies, to be, the number one thing that we should, be caring about. What you put in your body, my choice, that kind of thing. But here's a guy who left $3.3 million on the table because Australia said, we're not going to allow you to stay here and play tennis. He was blocked because of his vaccination status, which also here in the state of New York basically came down to a lot of medical workers, medical personnel, that under the new governor, you weren't going to work without a vaccination. And
yeah,
so
we could go 10 different directions here because, well, first of all, the mantra, my body, my choice, has to fit the narrative for it to apply.
That's true.
Doesn't fit the right narrative.
Right.
And as far as the tennis player, I can't pronounce his name. I think he's Serbian. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
There have been a number of athletes, and here is something odd to me. I haven't seen this in the stories about him. There have been a number of athletes, particularly European soccer players, who have had their careers ended because of what the vaccine has done to them. And you can make all this statements you want about how it's very few people percentage-wise. The fact is, even when it's a 1%, let's go talk to that 1%. There have been athletes who I just read the other day about an Olympic hopeful who her career's over because she got the vax and it damaged her.
And see, it's so important, but you never hear about stuff like that. They never want to talk about it. That's never a focus of any of the stories. But here's a guy who I don't believe he's going to be able to play in the French Open because that country just passed a new law that requires proof of vaccination for anyone at venues like sporting arenas and restaurants, and of course the UK and here in the US, which are hosting the two final majors of the year, also have tough restrictions on the unvaccinated. So you look at this and you say, so we're taking the unvaccinated's way of making a living away from them because they don't want to put something in their body that should be their choice. We're not going to just restrict them from restaurants or getting on a bus or an airplane or getting into another country. We're going to restrict them from making money to support their family because now a brand, it's called Lacoste. It's a clothing brand. I don't know if you're familiar, Brian, but they said they're going to review the events of Novak Djokovic and make a decision on whether or not to yank him as a sponsor.
And that's another thing that kills me about this. Everything you just named is happening. Trying to stop people.
It's like some crazy world, right?
Yeah, from pursuing their livelihoods, okay? And then at the same time, the left is telling us, oh, but this isn't a loss of liberty. We're protecting you. This is patriotic. Didn't Biden say this is the patriotic thing to do?
Well, Biden says a lot of stupid things. Sure.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter told us it was the patriotic thing to do to turn our thermostats down. You can make patriotism whatever you want, apparently. And so these people are losing liberties. They're losing the ability to do what they want to do. And then they're told, oh, you're not losing liberty. You just need to get this shot and you'll be okay.
You'll be fine. What if I don't want to get the shot? Well, then you don't get to feed your family. You don't get to feed your family. You don't get to pay your mortgage or your rent. You don't get to pay your electric bill. So your family is going to freeze. I mean, Greece, beginning this coming Sunday, unvaccinated people in Greece will have to pay a monthly fine of $57 for not getting the vaccination.
Is this your Greece or the world's Greece?
It's the world's Greece.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was Greece.
Not North Greece.
New York.
Not my Greece, but the world Greece. And in Canada, in Quebec, they announced last week that unvaccinated adults will soon have to pay also a financial penalty. So what they're doing now, if you're not vaccinated, they're just going to fine you in some of these countries. And again, something that we thought was wacky and never could have happened in a million years is happening.
Oh, yeah. Just think what we were like February 2020. None of this crossed our minds.
Nothing.
And, it's just like there's a lot of talk about, occasionally you hear about inserting chips in people. Well, no, we insert chips in dogs in case they run off,
Right.
And so now I don't remember, was it Denmark? It might've been Denmark. That is, don't quote me on that. One of those countries is talking about inserting chips in the populace who are vaccinated. That is insanity.
It is. I mean, that's like cuckoo world, right? But it's happening.
It's also segregation.
Yeah, it is.
And look how we're trying to segregate people. When, we dealt with segregation in this country based on race, and we put a stop to it. And now we're talking about segregation for other reasons.
Right.
And it's supposed to be okay. We're supposed to accept this. It makes no sense.
100%. If you're wondering who my guest is, it is my childhood friend, Brian Peterson. He is an author, a screenwriter, a man of many talents, and he is joining me from Missouri today, Kansas City, as a matter of fact. We grew up together, went to Buckner Elementary together, and he is with us. You want to check out his book. It's called Paper Dolls. You can find it at Barnes and Noble. It is an excellent book. I read through it in about a couple of days this summer, sitting by the pool, and it's a great quick read, especially if you're snowed in. What a great little book to get and read about one family's struggle during, well, I call it the greatest generation. And I really love the characters in the book seem so real, but you write them real because they are real, and you do such a great job.
Yeah, thank you. I read over 300 letters between family members. And so it's written as a novel, not as a history book. And then my other 3 books are fiction. If you go to my website, writtenbybwp.com, you'll find the sci-fi and 2 psychological thrillers. So that's my passion. And then with politically, I haven't been involved politically for a while, but I used to write for a mid-sized newspaper in Southern California. And wrote for an internet site for a while, was involved with campaigns, with campaign strategy, and been really involved as far as the political end for a lot of years. I just got a little bit tired of it and focused on my writing.
And now here you are with me, being all political.
Right, I know.
Our Buckner Elementary teachers would have been so proud of us. So we are glad that you're listening to Kimberly's Revolution and shocked on the We the People Podcast Network.com. Please support our advertisers, Taylor 500 Help. That's Taylor Heating and Plumbing, Precision Lawn and Garden. If you need a snowblower, they are the guys that can help you out. They have on sale models. They have new models at Precision Lawn and Garden. And of course, if you have a plow service that you haven't seen hide nor hair of since you paid them that check, call Express Sealers at 645-2010. Besides sealing driveways, Brian at Express Sealers also does business and residential plowing. So here in upstate New York, Brian, we need the plow service.
I do not.
Our guys came 3 times yesterday and then another time this morning just to clear off with the town of Greece, because the town of Greece comes through and clears the sidewalks. And then about 5-7 inches went back into my driveway.
Well, I need to sell more books in New York because you folks sound like you have a better chance of being snowbound than we do.
No, we were out driving in it yesterday. The roads were clear. They have the uncanny ability. They get out. The one thing I will say about Rochester and Buffalo is that they get the roads clean there are generally not any school closings because of snow like this, because they have the ability to clean off the roads. They have all the equipment and they have the ability to do so. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, one thing I wanted to talk to you about too, and we grew up basically in the 70s. We're 70s kids, right? We were born in the 60s. We did
70s and 80s, yeah, because
70s
we
and 80s.
graduated. By the way, you never mentioned Fort Osage High School, our alma mater.
Fort
Yeah,
Osage
Albert
Indians.
Pujols. Albert Pujols graduated from Fort Osage.
Yes,
Yeah, so class of 84. So we're kind of in the middle.
a little bit,
We're kind of 70s kids, kind of 80s kids.
kind of a mixture.
Yeah.
And when they said last Friday, or maybe it was Thursday, I can't remember, inflation is skyrocketing. Consumer prices, the biggest jump in 40 years. And I'm thinking 40 years. Holy crap. That's like 1982, right? And you see on there all the
we're old.
changes, right, in the prices. And all I could think of was, I remember in 1978, the year my mom and dad bought that house, the A-frame that's on the hill on BB Highway going out of Buckner towards Grain Valley. And my dad was crazy about this because he didn't want to buy the house because the interest rate at the time was like 13.8% on this house that they were getting financed through the bank. And he was out of his mind about it. But all I can think about now and compare the two is how similar this Biden presidency is looking like a Carter presidency.
Oh my gosh, is that not the truth? So I made a little list.
You made a list.
I made a list because in 1978, you and I were 12 years old, going to turn 13 at the end of the year.
Right.
I was already into politics, so I was paying attention closely. And so 78, you said 14.8%. Well, it ended up under Carter, I think it was been in 1980, getting to over 20%. So we had, under Carter, we had over 20% inflation. We had, interest rates. Inflation was double digits. Unemployment was double digits. So it was bad. And at least, on American standards, Venezuela, 7,000% in inflation. Yeah, they'll take it. But for the United States, no, we're not used to that. So I started comparing Carter in 78 to Biden today. You ready to go there?
I'm ready.
I don't think you are. I'm
not.
Ready. Okay, so he was weak to the rest of the world. The way he presented himself in our foreign policy, very weak. Biden, think Afghanistan, think with Ukraine, what's about to happen there. It's about to get real bad.
Listen, he's completely underestimated Putin, or as I call him, Pooty Poop. But we'll get to that in a second.
Pooty Poop. I don't think I've ever said that word. Carter blamed the American people. He had a famous speech called the Malaise speech, where he lectured the people. Yeah. Basically, it was America's fault why energy prices were high. And then he went on, he focused on the negative. It was this lecturing speech. We need to turn our thermostats down. And it also showed that he had no understanding of what was going on.
Completely.
And then what do we got with Biden?
Yeah.
Yes. Biden, what's he do? He lectures the American people. He calls us racist. We're the problem, which, yeah, I agree. We have people in our society who are part of the problem, but that doesn't mean every average middle American is the problem here.
Right.
But they've got to lecture us. They've got to tell us what's wrong with us because they know better. Carter was ideological, much more ideological, by the way, than we knew at the time. It wasn't until he got out of office we started realizing how far left he was. He started supporting the Sandinistas in Nicaragua and speaking against Israel and the Jews there. Biden was pragmatic. He was known to be pragmatic during his career, but now, since he's president, all of a sudden he's this ideologue.
Yeah.
They were both controlled. Carter, there's a story that a guy, an influential person went to Carter and said, "Hey, I've got a list of people I'd like to see you consider for cabinet positions." And Carter said, very sadly, "I'm sorry, this is out of my control." I don't know if that's true. We don't have proof, but that is something that is the same with Biden. Biden says, I'm not supposed to answer these questions. Well, gee, Kimberly, I'm not supposed to be here even.
Right.
What the heck?
I mean,
Who's
why
controlling
can't
you, you know?
why can't he ask questions? Why can't he
Yeah.
answer questions? Why can't he be in front of the media? But again, I think as you mentioned, you know, Carter was being controlled and Biden is being controlled. Big and I'll tell you why. I have a little clip I want you to listen to. Now, you pointed out this was getting huge airplay yesterday. And I tweeted this out because it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day yesterday. It was a holiday for many people. Schools were out of session. But as you pointed out, this is not something new, he said. This is
Right.
something that came, what he said, months ago, right? But the media, again, did what?
June 2020 is my understanding. And my understanding is during the campaign, and it was in June 2020. But it just, didn't get play.
Didn't get played because why? It would make Biden
Fit the
look bad.
narrative. Right.
It's very scary how this is done. Can we roll that Biden video, Austin?
But even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
What?
That's astonishing.
A criminal, an addict.
I mean, George Floyd didn't have a message. King had a message. Why didn't Floyd have a message? Because he was too busy on drugs and committing crimes. Come on.
Passing bad checks or passing, phony money. I mean, you can't, I got to hear that again, Austin. Can you?
But even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
And if you listen to that closely, there's somebody going, So he's not the only insane person in the room.
Right. I look at that and I think, if that were any other politician, everyone goes to Trump. If that had been Trump, but any other politician, the governor in Florida, DeSantis, any other politician anywhere, the governor of Missouri, if any other politician had said that, it would be on a continuous non-stop loop. It would be on, it would be
Absolutely.
the number one story on all the major networks. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And I want to say this about control. I'm not a conspiracy guy at all, but when you have a president of the United States who constantly says, I'm going to get in trouble if I talk to you, I'm going to get in trouble if I answer this, I'm probably not supposed to be talking to you. What the heck? Who is making decisions?
Right.
That's the insane thing about this. With Carter, we knew he was inept. We accepted that he was inept. That's why he was voted out. And there were a lot of people behind the scenes doing things for him, but that's true with all presidents. Reagan was a delegator. He had a lot of people doing things, but he was the ultimate decision maker.
Right.
I don't know how much control Carter had. It appeared at first not much. Later on, ineptitude is ineptitude. It all blurs together. So who knows? I don't know if it matters. But more Biden versus Carter. Carter, his image and his reality were not in sync. Like, for example, look at what a man of the people. He carries his own luggage to Marine One. Well, then we find out years later, that luggage was empty.
Right.
Secret Service had already put it on. And then, Biden has this image of being this nice guy, when if you've paid attention to politics long, he's a vicious person. And so they are protected by the press. But here's the next thing. The press turned on Carter. Okay. It was about 1979. All right. So Carter bribed them with the Department of Education. Now, it had been in the works for a while. Okay. But in fact, for a while, I don't know if you remember this, they were talking about naming it the Department of Public Education until people caught on that the initials would be dope. And so they held off on that. And I'm really concerned, what's Biden going to do to get the press back on his side? He's already tried Build Back Better. He's already trying with the taking over, unconstitutionally taking over voting through the federal government. What's he going to do?
I don't, listen, I don't know what he can do. I mean, he's got an attorney general that basically calls parents of students that are currently in
Yes.
school domestic terrorists. I don't know how much more you could foobar a situation than he has up to this point. And I tweeted out right before we came on the show. So it's been about 45 minutes ago from BNO News. The White House says it believes the situation has reached a point where Russia will launch an attack on the Ukraine at any time. So an attack is imminent because the president has, not really taken the Russian situation, I think, either seriously, or he's not been able to, or Putin just doesn't care. But I think they have considerably underestimated Putin and the Russians. And as I mentioned to you, I really think it's a situation of where, and if you know your history and you know the history with Great Britain and Germany, they had a prime minister called Neville Chamberlain who
Peace in our time.
right? Completely underestimated Hitler. And look what almost happened.
He stood before the cameras and he held up the agreement with Hitler and he said, "We have peace in our time."
Yeah.
And all it did was embolden Hitler and make him say, okay, the British are weak. And so, yeah, has Biden's people underestimated Putin? Sure.
Yeah.
But look at this from the other perspective. Putin understands Biden and what he's like. And one thing that we learned, that we should have learned under Reagan, is the Soviets were afraid of Reagan. The press said the only reason they rejoined Jimmy Carter's side of things is because of Reagan running against him. And in the 1980 campaign, it was Reagan's a cowboy. Reagan's going to get us into nuclear war. Reagan's going to end society. And the Russians started believing that, and they were afraid of him. And he dealt with them strongly. Well, Putin sees what Biden's like. He knows he's not going to deal with anything strongly. Look how he deals with the Chinese. And so when Trump came into office, he's going to get us into wars. No, he got us out of wars.
Yes.
And we didn't go to, other than bombing Syria with some precision attacks, we didn't enter a new war under Trump. The countries of the world respect or fear, depends on who they are,
right,
strength. Biden is not strength.
He is
Carter is not strong. Reagan, Trump, they had strong foreign policy. Say what you want about mean tweets. He had a strong foreign policy. But these leaders sniff. They smell. They get it. They've been in politics. They understand diplomacy, and they sniff weakness. And that's what Putin smells right now.
They can smell it from a mile away.
Right.
And as I said earlier, the name of the show today, it's not that complicated. It's really not that complicated. You have to put Putin in his place. It's too late to do that now. I mean, can you imagine if you have family that's living along the border in the Ukraine, and here they are amassing troops and they're ready to attack it at any moment? And believe me, I mean, Putin's not going to be happy with just the Ukraine. I mean, there are several countries right now that are pushing back against Russia. They don't stand a chance.
Right. And one thing that you'll hear in the press is, well, Senator so-and-so, what would you do? Because, you disagree with Biden. Well, it's too late for that. It's an entire attitude, a policy, an approach. And you wouldn't have had, President Kimberly would not have had that approach. Therefore, you wouldn't be in this situation right now.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Some other things I wanted to get to before
I just made you president.
Our show. I love that. You made me president. God help us all.
I'll go with that.
Exactly. Were you a fan of Betty White? My mother watches the Golden Girl reruns like crazy.
I didn't have anything against her, but I also wasn't a big fan. I thought she was a cool lady, but I didn't pay attention much to that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's not my deal.
It's not really in you. It's not your demo kind of thing. But Betty White, this was the last picture of her, according to her assistant, that was taken before she died. So the last picture, I mean, look at her, 99 years old. And quite personally, I do not want to live till I'm 99 years old. But look at her. She looks amazing. I mean,
She looks like a lot of people in their 70s.
Doesn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that must be good living, I think.
That and genetics.
Genetic way 100
Yeah,
percent.
seriously.
Yeah. And so I have this video I wanted to show you because I think it's kind of funny of people acting up. This was after did you watch the Dallas game the other night?
Yes, I watched part of it.
You watched part of it.
I saw, I think mostly the fourth quarter.
Oh, did you? Okay. So basically what happened after the game, Dallas lost. It was kind of a crazy game, nonetheless.
Dumb play call.
But after the game, of course, some people get into it outside of the stadium. And I want you to watch this video and tell me what you notice. See him? You always got to have the big fat dude without a shirt on.
I swear.
Why doesn't he have a shirt on? Why? Why is his shirt off?
Because he knew there was a camera somewhere.
Okay, so the big melee, and it never fails. You watch Cops, right? It never fails. You always see the big fat guy with no shirt on somewhere.
They're not my pants. I like that when there's drugs in their pants. They were not my pants.
They're not my pants.
I'm just wearing somebody else's pants. You know?
That's exactly right. But I took a look at that video and I thought to myself that, and I'm sure that they were just lucky. That probably happens outside of every stadium after every game like that. There's always some kind of a ruckus. But I just laughed when I saw the guy with the big old belly. He's going to get involved, Brian.
Yeah, that's something that we don't need to see, but it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Now, will you go to the game? Will you get tickets and go to the game, or will you and your wife watch at home?
Watch at home. I enjoy going to the stadium, but Chiefs fans stand much of the game,
yes.
And my wife's back can't take that.
Oh, I see.
So usually I go with other people when I go, but I get too uptight. I'm much calmer than I used to be, but I prefer to watch the Chiefs alone. And a couple of my cousins, whom you know, we text during the game, but that's about it. I want to focus only on the game, and I don't like to talk or anything. It's like I'm too into it, you know.
Yeah,
but
right.
I am calm. I'm a lot quieter than I used to be. I used to be kind of bad.
We thought about buying tickets and flying in for the game until we looked at airline prices.
Oh yeah,
and the airline
prices. That's worse than the tickets.
Oh, I can't. Well, the tickets were going to cost us $300 a piece. So
I would have thought more than that.
I was okay with $300 a piece for the tickets. So we bought the tickets before the game was even over. And then I had booked a hotel there in Independence. And then we started looking at flights. And for the two of us, so we were looking when it was all said and done, it was going to be probably about a $3,000, endeavor to come in for one or two games. We'd probably have to Uber around. We would, have to get
it's
food.
Cheaper on TV.
What's that?
It's cheaper on TV.
It's so much cheaper on TV.
And could you wear a mask on an airplane? Because you're even more hardcore on masks than me, and I'm pretty hardcore.
I am.
And you have to wear a mask on an airplane. Otherwise, you end up in a brawl, and a fat guy loses his shirt.
I know, right? I have flown since this whole thing in August. We flew down to Charleston. I did wear a mask. As soon as I got off the plane, the mask came off.
Oh no, you're supposed to keep it on and drive alone in your car with it on. Like I just saw somebody.
I know, right? Or just be walking by yourself outside and have your mask on.
The coolest thing I've seen in a while. I was down in Florida, and it was a college town, Gainesville, and there was a light rain, and this gal's out jogging in a light rain with a mask on. And so first of all, you're by yourself outside. Second of all, it's raining. What do you think's happening to that cloth mask?
Idiot.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, and you've had COVID. I tested negative for COVID, but my husband had it a year ago in December, right around Christmas. And my daughter and I both got whatever it was, like a cold, but we both tested negative, even though he tested positive. I don't know how that worked out, but you did have a cold, right? Pretty bad.
Yeah. It took me 3.5 months to recover because I got pneumonia, incredibly weak. I don't remember all the symptoms, smell, of course, taste, all that.
Right.
But the biggest deal was the pneumonia. And my wife was the same as me across the board. We had a bunch of symptoms, but she got blood clots in her lungs. And the doctor, word for word, was, "You damn near died." And as my wife is in the hospital for 6 days, and she's a long haul COVID patient. She's still, it made her an instant diabetic.
Wow.
Damaged her kidney. She has a stage 3A kidney disease. So it was a big bad deal, and she still has effects.
What a great Chinese chemical weapon, right?
Yeah, and
what a great Chinese chemical weapon.
A lot of people we know, we don't know where we got it, but a lot of people we know had mild symptoms, and this is back with Alpha,
before a shot was even available.
Right, exactly. And so it was a big bad deal that we took seriously. But I also, me, I educated myself against masks a long time ago. I already had N95 masks at my house. But one of the things that you could do at that time was you could go to the OSHA website and you could look up where at OSHA, not CDC, they'd say cloth masks are useless unless you cough or, and you have a cold. Surgical masks are good for keeping the doctor from breathing onto the patient, but you can still get bad come in. N95 keeps it from coming in, but you exhale it. Okay. So this was all on the OSHA website, laid it out. Forget cloth masks. You want N95. Okay. Then comes the CDC. Then comes the politics of Dr. Fauci. Now he's, by the way, warning us there are more variants to come.
I'm sure.
And so they're the ones who said, "Oh no, you can wear cloth masks," when it's already been scientifically determined that they don't work because of the size of the molecules of the coronavirus.
And neither does, the vaccine. I think Israel is now saying even a fourth shot isn't going to keep you from getting one of the variants at some point in time.
Then what's the point?
And what's the point?
And one last thing about that is that they're saying that, good thing I was vaxxed or I would have got it worse. Well, you can't
How do you know?
That. You can't prove that negative
because
we know so many people who got alpha, only minor symptoms.
And that's really what I think my daughter and I had at one point. I mean, we don't even know because again, we tested negative, but still, it's the greatest scam of this generation, I think. Probably
how they handled it. Yes.
The greatest scam of this generation.
The Wuhan virus is real, but the scam is how they responded to it. And if you read up on ivermectin in India and in Mexico, and when you read up on hydroxychloroquine, you find out we could have prevented hundreds of thousands of deaths.
They didn't want to.
And no one's going to get punished for this.
No. Well, we've seen that here in the state of New York, where they decided last week that or maybe it was the week before, that there would be no charges for the nursing home debacle for our disgraced Governor Cuomo. So these guys, they squeak on out of any kind of trouble. I know you're very happy there in Kansas City, but as of course we do realty here at the We the People Podcast Network.com. In fact, our realty office is downstairs, Revere Realty, and we help people buy and sell their homes, of course. And I always think it's interesting. I try to bring up one little real estate. How long have you owned your house there in Kansas City?
15 years.
15 years. And our housing situations, prices, as crazy there as they are here in the state of New York?
maybe not technically as crazy, but still stupid crazy. Yes.
Yeah. So you can buy your own private island 30 minutes from downtown New York City if you have about 4.9 million to burn. You got that right in your pocket somewhere?
Yeah, I'm looking for my wallet. See if I got that laying around.
It's a New Rochelle community called Premium Point. Let's show the picture of that, Austin, if we could. This is quite a doozy of a house. Look at that.
I'll take it.
You'll take it, right? 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and a pool, as well as access to a private beach for a measly, and you could probably negotiate with them, $4.9 million. There's the kitchen. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh yeah, if I show that to my wife, then we might look at it.
Is she
Now, if
the
you
cook
take
in
the
family?
4 away and you just keep it at 0.9,
Yeah.
I don't think I can afford it still.
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me today. You have been a real treat, Brian, and I
I enjoy it.
of course Tom and his wife are out on some cruise somewhere in the ocean, but you have been fantastic today to come on and kind of share
Thanks
your
for
thoughts.
having me.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I appreciate the way that you've plugged my novel.
course.
Troy Elder said hello. And
What?
yeah. But no, I really appreciate you and I enjoyed this. And yeah, when Chad comes back tomorrow and harasses you like crazy and interrupts
Yes.
you all the time, you'll
Yes.
appreciate me more.
Of course. Of course. So yeah, Troy Elder, it's another Buckner kid, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Younger than us.
Yes, 1 year younger. He
Oh,
is
by
pretty
1
much
year.
my longest friend. Yeah, oldest friend.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Very nice. I know before the show, we were talking about a close friend of ours that we also went to elementary school with, Sean McMahon.
I'll be having dinner with him pretty soon.
Well,
He was my best friend. He was my best friend in grade school.
And without a doubt. So the novel is called Paper Dolls. Of course, it's by Brian W. Peterson. It's on Barnes and Noble. You can check Brian out on Twitter at written by BWP. And of course, if you want to email him, writtenbybwp@gmail.com. We thank all of our patriots who are watching today on the We the People Podcast Network.com. We are on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching or listening on either of those two, if you could just subscribe and give us a like, it of course is free. And we thank all of our sponsors, Taylor Heating and Plumbing. It's Taylor 500 Help, Precision Lawn and Garden, and of course, Express Sealers, 645-2010. Please support our advertisers as they support us here on the We the People Podcast Network.com. What's the rest of the afternoon look like for you in Kansas City?
54 degrees.
What?
54. You're at 22. I looked at my app.
I know it's crazy chilly here on that end, but we won't see you tomorrow as Chad is, unless Chad for some reason can't sit in, and then inevitably you may be pulled in for double duty, Brian.
I'll see what I can pull off.
Okay, very good. You have a great day, and of course, as Just Tom always says, take care and be kind to others. Justin, is that what he says?
Yeah, Justin, I tell you.
Is that what he says? All right, we'll be back tomorrow on the We the People Podcast Network.com with Chad and Kimberly's Revolution.
From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor 500 Help.